All right, welcome back to the next episode of the Warrior Call podcast. Today, what I finally have got the time to have my brother here with me to kind of go over his story, explain how that he was where he was, what he went through, how he arrived where he's at now. It's a pretty inspiring story. So, without further ado, this is my brother Jason.
Howdy.
He is new to all of this, which we all are, but that's all right too. So what happened was I was driving home one day. I picked him up and was bringing him to the house, taking him home. And I had asked a simple question. And that question was, Jason, how did you come up in a home that was a Christian home, great, lots of love, everything in the house? How did you go from that into making one wrong decision, which led to another decision, which led to another? And so let's start right there. I asked him, and we're going to try to, hopefully he can tell you the same things that he told me. So what happened when you first made what was your first wrong decision that started you into a path that was not what you would have chosen?
Well, the first thing is self-love, self-hate thing.
Okay.
I didn't like myself.
All right.
I didn't like who I was. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't think I was good enough to be around people.
Was there a particular reason for that? Or was it just a thought in your head?
Not that I remember. It's just something that I developed.
Okay.
Coming up, I guess. I mean, it's not like I was shown plenty enough love. We both were.
Mm-hmm.
We was in the same thing. But I went deeper into myself and not allowing what was given to me
Mm-hmm.
to actually absorb inside myself.
Okay.
I always turned against it. I was like, well, no, they're wrong. I'm not a good person. So in doing that, I started hanging with people kind of like the same people as myself.
Mm.
They didn't like themselves neither.
Did you all have those discussions? That you didn't care much for yourself, or did you just kind of pick up on it by actions and other words being said?
Well, it was more like kind of like trying to get each other to feel sorry for each other. You know, like, well, I didn't have this, or I ain't got that, or I don't have the best looking girlfriend in school, or whatever. Whatever the tension might be.
Okay.
But basically, I didn't like myself, and I was on the path to trying to change myself.
Okay.
Change who I was to other people. Now, to myself, I never did like myself. I wasn't very good in school. I didn't, I can't figure things out as good as other people, and I let that get to me. And I didn't want to try because I didn't want to look like an idiot. So
Okay.
I just kind of faded back into myself and faded back into my own like little world. But when I started hanging around with the wrong people, I noticed that they were kind of like the same way I was.
Mm-hmm.
And me looking at them, I couldn't see them feeling their self about their self like I did mine, like I do me. So, and I was like wondering why, how could you hide yourself from that? How could you hide your true self to the world or whoever? And so I started smoking pot, drinking, sniffing gas, just anything that would change my depression about myself and to focus on something else. And drugs, just at the beginning of it, I was having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was under the illusion I was having fun.
Now, was it other people? Like, was the crowd that you was hanging with, was they already on drugs, and then you just kind of joined in, or did a couple of y'all get together and say, "Hey, I wonder what this is like"? Walk me through that.
Well, we kind of like discovered it ourselves, together.
Okay.
I ain't gonna mention no names, but the people I was hanging out with at the time, we had older influences that were doing more drinking, more things like that.
Right.
And they would bring us along and they would get us high and then they would sit back and watch and laugh and joke around, watch us fumble around and act like idiots.
Mm.
But still made us feel like we were welcomed.
Yeah.
Like we were part of something, you know. But like I said, in the beginning, it was fun. I mean, it just, that was something I enjoyed.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about, you know, how crappy I thought myself was or my life was. I was just in the wind.
So it was a fun escape.
Yes, basically, yeah.
Okay.
I escaped the pressures of what I thought who I thought I was,
Mm-hmm.
the embarrassment of who I thought I was, and when I was high, I didn't care what you thought of me.
Right.
I didn't. I didn't care about anything. All I cared about was I ain't got to worry about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But
So now, how old were you then?
12, 13-year-old, something like that. There's about 4 or 5 of us that hung around pretty much every day together. And some of my friends had motorcycles and stuff like that. So we were able to get around a lot better than just having to walk everywhere. And then hanging with the older people, they hooked us up with the people who sold it. So we didn't have to go to them to go get it. We go get it ourselves.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a ladder, you know.
Right.
First, they bring you in, they hang out with you, they see how you are, make sure you ain't, you know, somebody that's going to tell on them
Mm-hmm.
or expose them in some way. And once you get past that barrier and they can trust you, then it's the whole thing wides open. I mean, and then after you start making your introductions to certain people who sold it, those people would let other people know, hey, look, man, this guy's cool. You know, if he
Right.
comes by and he said he needed something or he wants something, don't worry about it. He ain't no snitch. He's good.
Okay.
So it just kept stacking up. The more people I knew who got rid of it and sold it made me feel better because I didn't have to go get this guy.
You felt accomplished.
Yeah, I felt like I was accomplished at something. Yeah, like now I got an identity. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a punk.
Right.
I'm not a punk, basically.
So when you were 12 or 13, you started just kind of finding this escape that worked out, that it was fine. But you was talking about too that you don't see things the same, and if if you don't want this in here, we can edit it out. But I think it's important for those listening or watching that you had a learning disability
Mm-hmm.
that you were that you were made known of, and then did that learning and the reason I say that is because some people watching and listening may be able to relate on that level.
Right, yeah.
If did the learning disability, though it be as minor as it is, did it affect? Is that part of the things that affected you in a major way that made you just feel like you was less than your surroundings, or did that even come into play?
Oh yeah, that played a significant part in it. I didn't want to try to learn something because I was embarrassed if I didn't get it right.
I see.
And then couldn't get it right again. They couldn't get it right because it takes me, from what I understood, what was wrong with me, or what is wrong with me, whatever, is that it takes me longer to
Right.
learn something than somebody normal.
Okay.
And that right there that made me fall deeper into myself, deeper into my own reality. I didn't like, and I still don't like being like in a big crowd,
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of people. And that comes from other things, and we'll talk about that in a little bit or whatever. But the reason of that is me not liking who I was or what I looked like or anything like that. I didn't want anybody to see me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and me growing my hair long, stuff like that, I could hide myself.
Mm.
You know, that way people couldn't see me as, you know, what thought I saw of myself.
Right.
So, and then, like I said, after I started getting high, I started losing interest in it. And like, I don't care what you think, but it was only when I was high or drunk or whatever. That was the only time I didn't care what people thought
Right.
or how I looked or anything like that. So it's,
How did you feel once you did? You know, you said that was the escape. That's what helped you the most to feel better in your mind. How did you feel? You while you was high, you just said while you was high is when you felt that way. While you were high, you were in that escape that was tolerable and somewhat enjoyable.
mm-hmm.
Once you come down off of that high, how did you feel? Not, and I don't mean just personally.
I'm talking about physically,
Well,
mentally,
I want physically, mentally, and then the crowd that you were around, and then family. How did that make you feel when you come down, knowing that the family that you come from is a God fearing,
yeah,
church going family?
Well, when I come down, everything was in my face.
So it was multiplied from what it was before.
10 times multiplied.
Wow.
Yes. And it just, because after, when you're getting high and, you know, however long you're high, you're not worrying about what your problems are.
Mm.
What you're seeing, or what you're doing is pushing it over to the side and allowing it to get bigger. But you're not being involved in it, making it bigger.
Right.
You're over here. So when you're sobered up, that's when everything comes. That's when you realize what true reality is.
Okay.
Or at least I did. And it was scary. And the more that I tried to escape, the more I got high, the more I got drunk or whatever, I wanted to exclude myself from my family because they wasn't like that.
Okay. So was it just out of respect for the family, or was it ashamed of being that way around the family, or both?
Probably both, I would say. More ashamed
Okay.
than, but yeah, I just, I don't like letting people down.
Right.
And after I got so far into my head thinking, you know, doubt myself and self-hating myself, I didn't want to be around it, period. I wanted to be off to myself, by myself, and not have to deal with it. You know, I mean, but you can't do that. You gotta face reality. You gotta face every day. And I mean, you can't hide from it, because as soon as you hide from it, all you're doing is making it bigger. And then once it makes it bigger, then it's going to be harder to deal with it.
Right.
It's going to be harder to face it. It's going to be harder to get through it.
So you try to go that much farther into, when did you notice that, you know, you said it was like 10 times greater the way you felt and all the pressure on you. When did you realize that? And did that part cause you to, is that kind of what drove you into the, I'm doing this now and I can quit when I want to because it's fun? Is that what drove you into the, all right, now I'm here and I can't quit?
Well, at that point, quitting wasn't a concern. Quitting wasn't even in my head.
Wasn't even a desire? No. Okay.
I wanted to, I liked it. Like I said, I was enjoying it still. But that's how I put a smile on my face.
Right.
Is when I was high and not worried about nobody else. But it's a funny thing. It makes you think that you're something you're not. It makes you think that everything is going to be okay. There ain't nothing wrong with it. You know, all you're doing is having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with having fun. Who can say, you know, it's not good to have fun, despite, you know, not looking at what kind of fun you're having or what kind of fun you think you're having.
Right.
It's more and more drawing into myself, getting away from the attention of anybody. I just didn't want it.
So that was how old at that point? Did that take a couple years to get there?
14.
So how did you feel when, you start out in all this stuff and you try to hide it, you keep it from everybody. How did you feel when the family found out and you knew that they were, what, so how did you think the family felt about you when they found out what you were doing?
I thought they didn't like me. I mean, man, they didn't want me around
Mm-hmm.
because they knew it was wrong. They knew what was going to happen if you keep doing it. I didn't know. They did, but it was. I thought that's why it drew me more away from not going to family functions and stuff like that, because I didn't want people to see me
Right.
for who I was.
And at 14-year-old, man, you're still a kid.
Well, at that time, I was so deep in my own
That's what I mean.
head.
You shouldn't be facing that type of stuff.
Well, no, but
that's a lot for an adult to face and try to process. And you're 14, thinking people don't love you, that you're not better, that you're beneath everybody.
mm-hmm.
And so all your friends, did y'all kind of stay along the same path?
Yeah,
on this journey? Did your journey, y'all just kind of stuck together through it all?
We kind of just just rode with it.
Yeah. So how did you supply that? How did you support the habit?
Well, see, now that's the thing right there. That's the first step into it. When the way the drug world
when you first started, let's go there first.
Right. Okay. When you first start out, drug dealers, people who sell dope, they give it to you
to get you hooked.
It's fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They'll give it to you. Okay, well, here, man, you can pay me back later. That kind of thing. And then you get to the point where, look, man, I can't do that no more. I gotta have the money. And once you see that you can't, not necessarily con them, but try to convince them that, look, man, I will pay you as soon as I get the money or whatever, they won't do it.
Right.
They're like, no, it ain't happening.
They know they got you hooked.
Forget it.
You're going to find the money.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. So go on and figure it out and holler at me when you get the money.
Wow.
So when it got to that point and I couldn't borrow or come up with a good enough lie to get money off the family or you or whoever it was, I was kind of in a rut. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do here? I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling really, really bad here. And at first it was kind of a physical thing, but mostly a mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once I seen how easy it was to take when somebody wasn't looking, and then have the reputation like, well, I don't think he would do that.
Right.
I played on that.
Right.
I played on that as long as I could play on it. But then it got to the point where, people were starting to figure you out, man. It don't matter what you say. You can't come up with a good enough lie. You can't come up with a good enough reason. So you're like alone in the world. Like you're just sitting by yourself and like, crap, man. The only way that I know to feel good is to be high. The only way to get high is to have money.
The only
way to get money is either work it out, and when you're on drugs, you ain't gonna work nothing. You can't. It's physically and mentally impossible to hold down a job or to hold down any kind of steady stream of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once I seen how easy it was to steal, I put everything into that.
Right.
I watched movies on people stealing and stuff and how they done it and this and that. And by the way, I wasn't ever good at it.
I disagree.
But
But that's interesting that you just said that. Let me stop you right there. That you just now said, that's interesting. You found the answer, how you were going to be able to support this habit.
Yeah.
And that was going to be from stealing. But you got a learning disability.
Mm-hmm.
And learning disability was a big impact on you feeling the way you felt. But even though you had a learning disability, you just now told me that what you would do was learn how to steal. That's interesting.
Well,
how the very thing that in the beginning, which I know you still, I know we've talked about that the learning disability, that the grip on, which it wasn't learning in front of people, and I understand that,
Right,
because you
yeah.
didn't have to worry about them seeing you as a failure, because
Right.
you already felt that way anyways. But now you're drifting off in private and watching and learning and studying to try to learn how to be a good thief
Mm-hmm.
to support the habit, that a lot of the reason that put you in the habit was a learning disability. But you had found that you could learn.
Yeah, it's just a
That's
cycle.
That's wild. That's
but
wild.
I mean, that's what I learned about myself too. I didn't realize it till later on, after I got, started getting clean and stuff. My problem is with the learning disability, drug, all of it, my whole life. If it interests me, I'll find a way to learn it.
Right.
I'll figure it out.
Right.
But if I have no interest in it whatsoever, I might as well just forget it.
There's a lot like that.
Throw it down, because there's no desire to want
the end result of why you're learning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but it's
so now you're in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in a spot that you're what, 15, 16 this time?
About 14.
Still 14.
Yeah.
At this point. Okay. So you're about 14-year-old, and you found this escape, and after you found this escape and you fell into the escape, now you can't, they're not giving you anything for free. You're having now you're having to steal stuff. Now take me to the next, what you would call maybe the next level of what happened in that moment. Once at 14-year-old, dude, that's still like crazy young, trying to figure life out. That's learning things about life that you shouldn't have to learn at that age. And so without having the support of family in that area, did you feel like, let me say this before we go any farther, did you feel like now that you've got all that going on, then was there a time where you felt like in the middle of, I've messed up, did you feel like you'd messed up at that point when you had to steal for it? Or was you still?
No, I knew I was.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Once you had learned that you was having to steal to support the habit, did you have the least bit of like, man, if I wish there was a way and I would back out of this?
Yes.
Okay, so once you reach that level, because I would assume, rather, I shouldn't say, I should assume that people that get in that predicament, like you're at in this point, in this part of your journey, you've reached a point to where you have to make a decision, and neither decision is good.
Right.
One decision is, I'm going to have to betray those that love me and those that I can get close to.
Right.
And the other is, I've got to swallow everything that I am. I've got to admit that I've got an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of getting support and help and people jumping in and helping me, they're just going to turn me away, and they're going to be ashamed of me, and they're going to push me away. So when it comes to option A or option B, you pick the lesser of the two evils, which is just keep supporting the habit.
Yeah, just keep getting high. Because, that's the only way that...
Like coming to family and trying to come clean was not, it was too much of a...
That wasn't something I was going to do.
Right.
That I was willing to do. I wasn't willing
That's what I was working
to
for.
expose myself like that.
Yeah.
To tell everything that I was doing and why I was doing it.
Right.
Because, for one, I didn't know the reaction that I was going to get from it, being from family or friends or whoever. It started getting to the point where, like, okay, I'm going to have to not only steal to get, the drugs. That's the only way that I can coexist.
Right.
That's who I am.
That's your place in society now.
That's who I am now. So, if I don't do dope no more, then they're going to exclude me. I'm doing it.
So some of it still was for the inclusive part of being
being a part of
a group.
Right. Without, but it was being a part of a group that no self-reflecting was asked. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to, well, why are you doing this? Or why are you doing that? We never asked each other that kind of thing.
Right.
All we did was we rode motorcycles. We went up the hills, whatever. I still did good things that would have been good things, that you did, but without getting high. But to me, to getting out there to do that, I had to be high.
Right.
Because I just didn't feel like it would be any fun if I wasn't. Now, like peer pressure, stuff like that, I never really. I mean, I wanted to be a part of some people.
You put the peer pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I wanted.
Somebody else saying it to you, you just.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't even faze me. I mean, I am who I am. I'll do what I want. You know what I'm saying? If I want to go out and get drunk with you guys tonight, I'm going to go out and get drunk with you. But if I don't feel like it, I'm not going.
Right.
And it didn't bother me what they felt about that.
So if you went, it wasn't to please friends, it was to escape.
It was to please me, to please my mind, to stop looking at myself all the time in a judgmental way. Now, as far as the stealing to do it, I didn't like it. I hated it.
Right.
I hated stealing. I hated every bit of it. And I hated it all the way up to when I quit. I never did like that.
Yeah.
I hated it because
it was a necessary evil.
I was raised to know that, people work for what they have.
Right.
And then someone like me comes around and sneaks behind them and takes what they got, what they've worked their hands, to the bone for. I knew that was wrong. I knew what I was doing to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like I didn't care what I was doing to them. It was all about self pleasure, self doubt, everything was self. I was on, it was like I was living, everywhere I looked was a mirror.
Yeah.
Because,
wow.
I mean, what you do. Yeah. You know what you've done. You can't lie to yourself about what you've done and what you ain't done. Just like you can't lie to God. I mean, He sees everything. And knowing that, now when I'm high now, it's like I got a shade over it. But as soon as I sober up, shades come up, lights come on, and it's, look at what you did.
Did you steal more when you was high or when you was sober?
When I was high.
Because you knew if you were sober, it bothered you too bad.
I knew, that, but I knew that I would mess up somehow and get caught too.
Right.
You got to have a certain level of nerve,
right,
to accomplish what you're doing.
Right.
Thieving was, I hated it. I really did. But after I accomplished it, after I got away from it, and nobody was looking for me, nobody knew, I was okay with it at that moment.
Right.
But like I said, though, that's when I'm high. When I sober up, I'm like, oh crap, man, look what you did. Like I said, it's like the mirrors come back up, look what you did. And that's the way Satan works, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way drugs is.
Yeah.
Drugs makes you think that you're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
That's all you're doing is having fun. Until you get to the point where it's not only like, okay, well, I'm bored, I want to go get high. It got to the point where I had to be high. I had to.
Right. There
wasn't no more sober period. I wanted to be high 24/7, all day long, all night long, all of it.
Right.
And I even fantasized about having all the drugs that I wanted, because I seen some addicts that their family or they had really close friends or whatever, they could get whatever they wanted anytime they wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter, because they would just hand it to them.
Yeah.
And I would be like, why can't I have it? Why can't I have it? And like, man, I would love to have that. I mean, I would sit around and fantasize about stuff like that. I mean, you're 15-year-old, you're sitting there fantasizing how somebody to give you dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had or never thought like a normal teenager.
Right.
The normal problems they have, oh God, I got a zit on my face.
Right.
What if what's her name don't like me, or what this don't like me? it wasn't about that with me. It was an inner battle every single day that I woke up.
A battle within.
It was, you either face it or you don't.
So did you when you were stealing to support this habit, was it, and I don't know, I know with what you're comfortable with, because this is for the world to see and hopefully to help. Did in the middle of that time, did the drugs change?
Yes.
Because you started out smoking pot.
Yes.
All right. And you can talk about what it was or not. You can just say harder drugs or you can call it out. I don't care. It don't matter. So when you are, now you're stealing, now you're in harder drugs by this point.
Yeah.
Because you found out that it gives you a longer high, better high, whatever. And we'll get to that point in just a minute. Because you asked me, did I know what chasing the dragon meant? So we'll get to that and I'll let you explain that in a minute. But
yeah,
when you were stealing, were you stealing more from people that you knew?
Yes.
Than you were people that you didn't?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Why do you think that it made that you were more comfortable stealing from people that you knew or was related to than strangers?
Because I knew that I could, that they would let it go after a certain amount of time or something.
So the love and you'd be forgiven.
I played that. I played on that. Yeah, I did. And that's something that I'm ashamed of, and I will to the day I die. And it's something that I didn't want to do, but it's something that I forced myself to do.
Right.
Because when you're high, man, you're just floating.
Yeah.
Ain't no worries. You feel good. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about what's outside of yourself. You know, you're inside yourself. You feel good. You're just, I feel awesome. I wasn't the type of addict though that like getting high and then going out in public.
Right.
I don't like that. I never did like that. I was the type that, and a lot of times I like getting high by myself because, I obviously at that time, I got more now. I ain't got to share it with nobody because it's a stingy kind of thing.
Right.
But I couldn't act different. I didn't have to act different with myself. I could be who I am, who I truly was, and feel comfortable because there wasn't nobody else around to judge me or anything like that. I mean, there was times I did go out, with people and stuff like that, but it wasn't something I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like being an active addict in front of a lot of people, because, our dad was like that. And I saw him like that so many times. And I guess that part stuck with me. Like, I don't want people to see me stumbling.
Wow.
I don't want people to see me do that. I want to hide everything about me. And I want to project whatever is welcoming about myself. Whether I was truly like that or whether I wasn't like that. If I had to act like that, then I would act like that.
Right.
But when I was by myself, like I said, I didn't have to act like nothing. I was comfortable in my own skin by myself, but I wasn't never and still ain't comfortable in my own skin around other people.
Now, at that point, so now you're doing harder drugs.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you say, I have a problem?
That didn't come till on down the road.
So at 15, did you still think that you could quit if you wanted to?
I guess I thought that, but I wasn't really worried about that.
You just didn't want to.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Had no desire at that point.
None.
Found something that fixed it.
I loved getting high.
Found a fix for the issue that you had. Yeah. And so that went on for how long? Until you started, seeing a problem. So when you started stealing, you're like, oh crap, I've done something, I've messed up. I need to fix this or whatever.
Yeah.
How long until that point, and then how long until like walk me through the part where you started having remorse for what you was doing. When did you start?
When I started having to pay for what, to face what I've done. When I started going to jail, juvenile hall,
Okay.
stuff like that.
All right.
Because that is what that is designed to do.
How old was you then? And what was your first?
My first, I was in juvenile hall when I was 15.
And where was that
Yeah.
at?
Paintsville.
Okay.
Paintsville.
And how long was you in there?
Well, I was the first time I ever went was just a weekend, but that's a whole different understanding. We'll get into that, once I start getting into when I started going to jail more and more.
Okay.
But, a weekend, they're like, oh man, we can't have nothing. Well, it is in there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you don't have TV, you don't have friends, you don't have people you even know.
You don't have freedom.
You have no kind of freedom. You're watched 24/7 and you're told what to do. Everything you do is you're told to do. So, but when I started having to face and answer for what I've done, that's when I started like, oh man, something ain't right here. This ain't good. I don't like that. This ain't good at all.
Right.
Because it wasn't like being at home and sober. I'm in jail and sober. There was no way whatsoever you was ever going to get anything in there. Not in juvenile hall anyways.
Right.
Or the places I've been. That place, man, they locked it down good. But
so it was all that much more that you had to face
windows
on you again.
Yes.
More mirrors.
More mirrors, yes. Not windows, mirrors, yes. I mean, because you have that's all you got. That's all you got. There's nothing you can do. You can't get up and go outside. You don't have that privilege.
Is that when you stopped and said, this is not the life I want?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
No. I was actually thinking, okay, I need to get better at stealing. I need to, because I need to avoid this.
Right.
Okay, I need to quit hanging out with this person because I'm finding out that when me and this guy goes and steals something and we get caught, he points his finger at me, snapping the finger.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, man, and that was one thing that I took dead serious about that world is you don't snitch.
Right.
I mean, you're a dumb already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're about as low as you can possibly be.
Right.
But then when you start to, okay, I didn't do it, he done it. I saw him do it, I'll sign the paper. You
go from being
nothing.
You go to a coward.
Yeah, you go to a punk.
Yeah.
You can't face what you've done.
Yeah.
You can't even face it like, and that's what, that's one thing Papa told me. I can't remember how old I was, but I'll never forget that. And I think it was when I first went to juvenile hall. He said, I can untell what road you're going down. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're man enough to get out there and do whatever you're doing, and it's against the law and you get caught, you do your time.
Really?
You do not.
Yeah.
Try to get out of it, putting it on somebody else.
And Papa told you that.
In those words, yes, he did.
Wow.
He's like, be a man about it.
Yeah.
And you know how Papa was.
Oh,
I mean, he was all about being, you got to be the man.
He was a man.
And if you're going to be that, then you got to be a man at that.
Wow.
If you done it, go do your time like a man. Be a man about it. Understand that you messed up. Understand, which I didn't exactly look at it like that. I looked at it like, okay, if I'm a snitch, I'm either going to get beat to death or I ain't never going to be able to get another drug on the face of this earth from nobody.
Right.
But I was more concerned about not the consequences of it, but how I would feel about myself after I'd done something like that. That's why I never done it. I never told on anybody for nothing, even if they were sitting there pointing their finger at me and saying he's the one done it. I would just say, look, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. That's what I would say. I wouldn't
knowing
say,
it was knowing it was the one pointing the finger that done it, but you wouldn't tell on them.
no, I wouldn't. I'll deal with you out there.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to put, I'm not a snitch.
Did you ever do time because?
Yes.
Because
Because somebody
let me
else.
say it again. Yeah, but did you ever do time that somebody else should have done time with you and they didn't do time with you?
Oh, every time.
Really?
Every single time.
So you done time because they snitched on you.
No.
And you went ahead and, I mean, you was part of it and you deserved the time, but they didn't because they snitched.
Right.
Really?
I just took it and went on with it.
And that happened a lot.
About every time I went to jail.
And then that's when you started figuring out if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to do it on my own.
Exactly.
That way I ain't got somebody, if there's going to be anybody telling me to tell, it's going to be me.
You ain't going to tell on yourself.
Right.
You know. But, and to be like that, you know, I didn't care to be a low-life dope head, but I still wanted to have the reputation of like, well, you know what? He is who he is, but at least he's a man about it. You know?
At least he's got integrity about it.
He's got some kind of morals to him that, you know, he's not going to lay it out for everybody. You know, he's going to, whatever he does, if I get caught at it, then I'll face it. If I don't get caught with it, then I'll never admit to it.
Wow.
You know. And at that time, after I started going to jail more frequently.
What age?
16, 17, okay. Right around there. It started to become like a job.
Right.
Like this is my life. It's
my survival.
So getting up in the morning, I'm going to have to face so-and-so and I'm going to face so-and-so. And if I owe this one, how am I going to get the money to pay them? Or if this one has something that I want, how am I going to get it? I mean, as soon as I opened my eyes, my brain started focusing in, okay, how am I going to get high today? How am I going to get that?
Now, what age was that?
Well, actually 15, 16.
Oh.
It started developing in like 15, something like that, then 16, 17, because
but the depth of it was 16, 17
yeah,
year old.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I grew up on the street.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that was forced onto me. I done it myself.
Right.
Because I mean, we had the best family that you could have.
Right.
All the love you had wanted, and I didn't want it. I wanted it, but I wanted it on my own terms.
Right.
I wanted my family and people who cared about me to accept me for who I was. And when I started feeling like that, that's when I was like, okay, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm settling into something that ain't good.
Right.
You know, into a way of life that has no value to it, that has no respect to it, that has no honor to it. This ain't good.
And that was the 16, 17 year old.
Yeah. When I went to boys camp and I seen how the authority could be. Because they there was no, they would beat you.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. I mean, I've told this to plenty of people when I talk about it. There's a guy named, you know, and at that time down there, they didn't go by your first name. They went by your last name. So I was Hall, Brown, Knight, McKnight, all them. There's a boy named Brown. He's from central northern Kentucky, right around Covington, actually.
Okay.
Up above Covington a little bit. Self-claimed to be a blood. But, you know, we're talking about kids here. Well, when we first got there, I had her down to here, long leather trench jacket on. And, I mean, as soon as I stepped out of the car, that guy looked at me and said, take the jacket off, give it to him. I said, nah, that's my personal stuff. He said, did I ask you to speak, take it off and give it to him. I don't care what he does with it. He can go home and burn it for all I care. And I was like, that's my personal stuff. He said, you ain't got nothing personal. You do not belong to you no more. You belong to us. And I was like, okay, this is serious. Okay, this ain't good. I've got myself into something.
Man, I done got my jacket burnt.
So yeah, my jacket's gone, man. You know, and it took me a long time to get that jacket. It was actually a jacket that you bought for me for Christmas.
I remember.
You know, but yeah, I don't know if I got that jacket back or not. But it was. I went in, and they were like little compartments, and each guy went into each apartment. They was like, all right, strip. And it was kind of like that movie, Shawshank Redemption. They take you in there, they strip you down butt naked, and they throw that white powder on you. That's the exact same thing happened to us. And it would blind you, man. I mean, it burnt my face up, my eyes, everything, man. They was like, oh, shut up. We don't want to hear it. You'll be all right. They give me underwear that was like 3 times too big for me. I was like, these don't fit. Don't worry, they will. I'm like, are you serious? So I was like, okay, I need to keep my mouth shut and just try to roll with it, you know? So, and they gave us all our fatigues and stuff, our boots and stuff, everything that, you know, we was wanting to wear and what we needed for our time there. Which was a pair of like army fatigues, a pair of boots. You had a sweatsuit for like PT and stuff like that. It was all strictly military because it was all military, ex-military drill sergeants and that ran it. So now here we are. I got that big old sack or whatever. It's got all my stuff on it, but I'm still in my underwear that's 3 times too big for me. I got a pair of boots on with no socks.
And underwear?
And underwear. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
Get in line. They lined us up. We went out the building and we started. There was a long road that went up that there was trees. It was a beautiful place, man. I mean, it really was. I mean, it was like breathtaking, beautiful. And we had to jog, or not really jog, but together all the way to.
And you had this bag on you too?
Yes.
So you're holding the bag with one hand and the underwear with the other.
Oh man, I couldn't breathe, man. I was like, I mean, from here to the TV, I was like, come on, man, really? You got a long way to go, boy, because it's about a mile down this road.
In your underwear and boots and no socks.
Yeah, and it like still dark outside, and I'm like, man, this ain't good, man. So we get down there, and and like I said, it's strictly military, man. I mean, they had barracks, they had. You know, you had chow hall, you had the barracks, you had your garage that had all your tools and stuff in it. Then you had like the educational center they called. They had a basketball goal, full-fledged basketball goal, but they weren't no basketball goals. So they wasn't they wasn't nothing like that.
Yeah.
But it was the concrete slab, everything. And so we got down there and the garage door was open. And they was like 3 or 4 seats sitting there. And we lined up, and each one of us would have to sit down. And they was cutting your hair. And, you know, I've always loved my hair. I always liked long hair, you know. And I sat down, and that dude started messing with me. He's like, so you want, man? You want it, like, it's got to look neat, though. It's got to look neat, man. I'm like, man, just like trim it up. He said, okay. I was like, are you serious, man? You just, I mean, and my scalp was so white, dude. I mean, it was shining. I was like, man, this sucks, dude. I mean, I can't believe he asked me. I said, you asked me how I wanted it done. He said, I think you look good like that. I was like, it's everybody else is the same. He said, that's the first thing you're going to learn here, boy. All you guys right here, you might not know each other now, but you're going to know each other. You're going to become a team. And you're going to become a unit. You're going to become one. And everybody looking at each other like, man, I don't know this dude. I don't know this. I don't even like this guy.
Yeah.
You know, just by the way he looks. Well, I don't care if you like him or not. You're going to respect each other and you're going to build a team, you know. And, oh, man, it was, you had to get up at 5:30 every morning.
Now, in the whole time during all this going on, how long was you there? You remember?
90 days.
90 days. I remember when I drove Mom out to pick you up, but I didn't know.
You drove by yourself, though.
No, I drove. Mom was with me. She was in Mr. Nick's car. Yep. We drove out there. Mom was with me. She was in the
And
back.
when you come to get me,
Yep. When we come
because
to get
me
you.
and you was the only one that rode back together.
No.
There wasn't nobody with us.
Yeah, Mom was in the back seat. Yeah, she was. Yeah, because
Okay,
the deal was, here was the
remember
deal. This is crazy. Here was the deal. She's like, son, you're going a little bit too fast, ain't you? I was like, Mom, we on the interstate. We got to keep moving.
Yeah.
How old was you at the time?
I turned 18-year-old in.
That's what I thought.
So
So
I
I was 18.
Yeah.
Coming to get you. And so Mom says, son, you got to slow down. And I said, Mom, we're on the interstate. I can't be driving slow. I'm just keeping up with everybody else. And then I'd speed up a little bit more. And then she'd say, slow down, speed up a little bit more. And then I think I was running like 90. And it was questionable whether or not you was going to get to come home.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was, but we made a deal. I said, all right, Mom, I'll make a deal with you. If he gets to come home, then you sit in the back seat and I drive as fast as I want to drive coming back home and you can't say nothing about it. And she said, okay, that's the deal. So when you was coming home, of course, there's her baby.
Yeah.
In her mind and in her hopes and prayers, 100% reformed.
Right. Yeah.
Brand new man.
Yeah.
Drugs are gone. All this stuff's over. Yes, son, Travis, you drive fast, you want to drive. I parked that thing on 90 mile an hour and I run all the way out to Bluegrass Parkway, 90 mile an hour, and never slowed down one time.
I remember it.
That's what we did. But now take me to that. Because now you're going home and Mom, maybe with a little bit, I've never asked her about it, maybe with a little bit of concern, I hope he don't go back.
Right, yeah.
But Mom's got this thought of, and here's my reformed son, now we get a fresh start. So when you come back, you in 90 days sober.
Right. Well, it was more than that. No, I was gone for like 5 months.
Sober for 5 months.
Yes.
Okay. And so where was you at when you went to the boys camp? Was you in jail? Was you in juvie?
I come from juvenile hall.
Still the same one place?
Yes.
Okay.
And sent to boys camp.
So they sent you boys camp for 90 days to get everything over. So for 5 months you was clean.
Right.
All right. Tell me what happened.
All right. When on the ride home, man, I was good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want it no more. Cause I mean, I was healthy, man. I was in shape.
Best you ever looked.
I felt so good. I was like, I don't need drugs, man. If I can feel like this, working out and stuff like that, then this is the path I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So on the way home, drugs never entered my mind. I was done with it. But when I got home, the first week or two wasn't that hard. It was easy because I was still in that routine that they forced me in boys camp.
Mm-hmm.
I got up early. I done my push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, went out and jogged, But then after, about a month or something, I couldn't find anybody to really hang out with that kind of mentality. Let's exercise. Let's do this, and it was, there wasn't nothing to do, period. And once I started like, well, okay, I'm only going to do 30 push-ups this morning. Next day, I'm going to do 25. Next day, I'm going to do 20 and 15. Then I'm going to do them no more. I don't want to do them no more. And start smoking pot again. And that first joint just took me right back.
Sucked you right back
just
in.
Everything. But it wasn't the pot that done it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the way my mind worked.
Right.
I was like, well, okay, marijuana ain't that bad. I can smoke a little bit of that. Ain't no problem. And some people can, and just do that and that alone. You know what I mean? They can do that. But I remember I got a job with the City of Neon. It was Arlie Hall was the mayor. I liked Arlie. He liked me too, apparently. He said, I'm going to let you work some, so that way you don't fall back into what you was doing. I'm going to help you out. I said, okay. And he put me on the garbage truck. And the people that was on the garbage truck were, I ain't gonna say dope heads, but they were
using.
They were in it. And I remember, I don't know what it was, something I got hurt or something, pulled my back. So I don't know what happened. I hurt myself. And one of the guys that worked with me was like, here, man, take this. And this was the first time I ever took a pill.
Oh,
as far as dope wise. You know what I mean?
oh, okay. So you had so up to that point, you had never done any kind of pills.
No, nothing like that. It was just drinking, smoking pot, and I think I done cocaine one time, but that wasn't something that I liked.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I got into. But up to that point, you know, that was the first pill I ever took. And guys, looked like a horse pill.
Horse
man.
pill.
It was lower set plus is what it was. It was, they called it UU is what it was, because it was two U's like this on the, and I think on the back it had 702 or 701 on it or something like that. But he said, take this, man, it'll make you feel better. I said, what is it? He said, just take it, man. And that right there is stupid anyway. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're taking something you ain't never took. You don't even know what it is. And the guy who's giving it to you don't even want to tell you what it is. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever. One pill ain't going to kill you. And when I took it, at first I was like, oh, man, my stomach's starting to hurt. And I made him pull over. I got out and I puked. But when I puked, man, I tell you what, I was like, let's go. I mean, I had so much energy and felt so good. I was like, let's roll with it. I was getting out. I was running around the garbage truck, man. I'm telling you, throwing garbage everywhere. I couldn't help it. I mean, I felt like, man, this is absolutely insane that something like this can make you feel this good.
Wow.
And, but I hadn't really got attached to it at that moment. At that moment, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, I was still more into, I like smoking pot. I like the downer kind of thing, kind of chilled, you know, sitting back. But it got to the point where they, just like in the beginning, you know, they'll give it to you.
Starting over.
Give it to you. Here you go, man. I'll hook you up. I got you. Well, when payday come, hey, man, won't you buy a few back for me? I'm like, well, you know what? You helped me out. I appreciate that, man. So I'm going to pay you back. Here you go, man. Well, you want a few? And you're thinking, well, you know, why not? You know, just to have them if I need them. It got to, man, that was hooked.
That was your vice.
That was I loved it.
So then you went to pills.
I went from anything from like an opiate.
Did you still smoke pot?
Yeah, but
only if that was last resort.
I'd smoke pot anyways, but it got to the point where if I didn't have a pill to take with my joint, the joint wasn't that good. So it's one of those, okay, now not only do I have a habit, I've got two different habits that I like doing together.
Right.
So that's more money, and that's more what you're going to have to come up with to get to feel that. So
now let's go back to the you was talking about the garbage truck.
Yeah. I still had what I'd learned at boys camp in me. I knew, you know, the thieving didn't come back right then. I had, you know, people's trust, and people would let me work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had a way to support my so-called habit at that time.
Right.
But it got to the point where I guess Arlie, Mayor Hall couldn't keep me working on the truck. You know, he had let me go. But I mean, he tried to help me, man. And I'll never forget that. I always have a lot of respect for that man because he gave me that chance. You know, he saw who I really was despite who I thought I was.
That's good.
So, when I lost that, I started hanging out with less than favorable people than I was hanging out with. People who were straight junkies. I mean, they lived to get high. That was it, you know. And with which, you know, like I said, I started pills then, and it eventually got to the point where that was my pick. You know, I barely even smoke pot anymore. Wouldn't smoke pot hardly. Just, you know, I wanted the pills because the pills gave me energy, made me feel good, and that was something that I had been searching for through the whole time.
Right.
That was the main
Dragon?
disease, dragon, whatever you want to call it, the most negative thing that you could do that will grab a hold of you, and there's nothing you can do about it type thing. Well, pills were, you know, you're talking about a different kind of money frame
Right.
thing. Marijuana, you know, you could go out and buy a $25 bag of pot and last you a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, pills only last that day. So I had to figure out how to get that supply every day.
Right.
And but like I said, you can't hold down a regular job. You cannot do it and be normal. You had to choose what you wanted to be from that point.
Right.
Okay. And after I started, the more pills I took, the more I got on them, the harder I felt. The better I felt, the worse I felt.
Right.
So I was getting to the point where I had to have, you know, more and more every day. And when it got up to where I had to have like 4 or 5 pills a day, you're looking at $50-something a day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's hard to come up with every single day of your life. You know? And not only that, that's just for your drug habit. You know, I smoked cigarettes. I had to have cigarettes.
Right.
So and there was many times, man, I got to the point where I like, you know what? I'll just borrow cigarettes. I ain't even gonna buy the cigarettes. I'm gonna buy my pills.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes me feel good. And I started meeting people that were dangerous.
Okay.
I'm talking about people who had no conscience.
Now, all right, so let me stop you right there. Before, when you was clean for 5 months, come in, compromise just a little bit, the pill, you was like, wow, I did not know this was, you knew people that done pills before that.
Right.
You just hadn't done them.
Yeah.
You didn't know they'd done that for you.
No.
So then you found out what they'd done for you. But then once you had found out that you were, now this is going to cost me a lot, did you think at that point, maybe I should stop?
No.
You was just like, I found it, I'm back on track.
You know, stopping wasn't an option.
Well, I know it wasn't an option.
I mean, it wasn't even a thought of it.
Okay, so it wasn't a desire.
No, not at all.
So now you're meeting these people that, because you're getting bigger in the game.
Yeah.
And so you're meeting these people now that, go ahead, you said had no conscience.
That had no conscience. And what I mean by that is they had more than you could ever buy. It doesn't matter what time of the day, what time of the night. If you had the money, right there it is. But once you get into that, because these people are the same kind of people that sold marijuana. You know, I'm going to give you a couple of joints, get you hooked. When they got you hooked, son, you come back to me. Yeah, I'll loan it to you. Yeah, I'll loan it to you. Yeah, I'll front it to you. But then, where's my money? And if you didn't have the money, you had 2 options. You're going to get paid. You're going to pay your bill, or I'm going to knock your teeth out. Simple as that. I don't care. I'll cut your head off and leave you laying on the side of the road. Don't bother me. You're not going to mess with my money flow.
Right.
So, and once you're hooked, you have this mind frame like, okay, if you loan me 5, I can pay you within the end of the week. You know, if it's $10 a day, $5 a day, whatever, I can pay you by the end of the week. And you got this like, you can do it. But then once you do it, and all the things that you had planned on how to get the money to do it fails. Now you're looking at, okay, now my health is in jeopardy here. You know, because these people ain't playing. Man. This is something that they that they take very serious, and it's how they live their life. It's how they function their life. It's how they pay their bills. It's how they, survive.
Mhm.
So, and once you get into those type of people, it's not a friendship.
Right. It's business.
It's a strictly business thing, but there was a few people that, ended up taking me under the wing.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Right.
And
now, did you? It might be too early in the journey. Did you at any point, but particularly the part of the journey you're on now, did you ever start having ambition to want to be a drug dealer like they were, to be able to have what they have and be able to have? Did that ever become appealing to you?
It did, but I knew that I couldn't do it.
Right.
You
couldn't be that ruthless.
I couldn't be that ruthless, but I couldn't. There's a thing about me. I'm not, I have a heart.
Right.
I care about people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't help that. That's just something that's embedded in me.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But I mean, of course, I tried to figure out ways to supply myself, to keep myself supplied, and to not have to owe money.
Right.
Start to collect money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was times that, I got a hold of a good deal that somebody would like, I'm going to give you this much stuff. You get rid of this. This is yours. But I want the money for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing that. And that was, I done that pretty good for a little bit. But.
And this time you're how old now?
I'm up in my like 20s.
Okay.
18, 19, 20, right around there, something like that. And it was more of after that guy took me under his wing. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any names or nothing like that, because that's beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
He took it easy on me. And what I mean by that is, like, if I told him, like, man, you loan this to me, I'll get this to you by then, and I didn't do it, he wasn't coming after me. He would find a way to let me either work it off or,
Mm-hmm.
But I started meeting people that were the main suppliers.
Okay.
Like I went to Michigan.
So when that happened, did you get scared any?
Oh yeah, I was terrified. It was really scary. This guy lived on 9 Mile in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. And if you ain't ever been there, I can't explain to you what it's like. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, especially, addicts and recovering addicts that's going to listen to this and watch this, they know the gang life, they know the city life. When we first pulled up to a red light, we had 2 or 3 people coming from the left and 2 or 3 people coming from the right, banging on the window. They didn't care who you was. Hey man, what you need? I got coke, I got speed, I got crack, what you want? Don't bite off him, bite off me. And it was a competition between those 2 factors
at a traffic light.
At a traffic light, and law everywhere. And I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, hey man, what do I do? Just tell me you ain't interested. I'm good. Nah, man, no, I got what you want, man. No, seriously. I mean, they would not stop. And I'm talking about people would have like 2 or 3 pistols in their waistband, one of them carrying a shotgun, one of them carrying an AK-47 on the street. And I had never seen nothing like this before.
Right.
I'm a country boy. I mean, when I see guns with beards and people, and what I'm saying, shooting at squirrels and stuff. Not shooting at cops and other people. But he was like, "Look, man, it's just right on down the road here." I said, "Look, man, I don't want to come back here, dude. This ain't good." Well, you're gonna have to, because sometimes I ain't gonna be able to make it. You're gonna have to run for me. And I'm like, I got to come by myself. Yeah. Oh, great. So here we go. I'm in 9 Mile, Michigan, and I'm seeing what I've seen on TV.
Yeah.
But in real life.
Yeah.
And it's no joke, man. I
Right.
mean, there's literally people sleeping on the streets, shaking,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not cold or nothing, but just from either being addicted or being an alcoholic or whatever. I mean, I see this, and I'm like, man, I don't want nothing to do with this.
Right.
I'm I'm good with what I am.
Now the fear's really.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I could really get killed doing this.
Yeah. So you're afraid that you can, in the middle of this, you're afraid you can get killed in this
Yes.
lifestyle now.
Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't, a thing I saw on TV anymore or something that I thought that I knew was real, but so far from me,
Right. Right.
now it's up in my face and I'm in it.
In the reality.
I'm sitting in it.
Yeah.
And we pull up to this guy's house and he liked me. I don't know why, but he did. And he was like, okay. And I mean, this is like a little small house. This wasn't no like, Scarface kind of thing, big mansion, nothing like that. This is just a regular small house
Right.
that had a lot of vehicles and stuff in it and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I'm like, this is the big guy. I mean, this is the main guy, really, and this is what he lives in. And it wasn't the fact that he couldn't live like that.
Right.
It's just he was smart.
Right.
He didn't want to draw no attention.
Gotcha.
So I walk in his house, and he's like, "All right, come here, let me show you something." We walk in this bedroom, and there's dressers lined up, wall to wall. He's got a walk-in closet. There's not even a bed in there.
Yeah.
It's just all dressers and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Are you gonna give me some clothes or something? What is this?" And he said, "Well, okay, this." And he opened up the top drawer of the first dresser. I seen thousands of Oxycontin, 80s, 40s, 20s, Lorset, Percocet, Percodan, any kind of opiate that you can think of. He had freezer baggies slapped full of. That's one drawer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Hey man, this is too big for me."
Did you tell him that?
Yeah. I said, I can't move what you're wanting me to. He said, did I ask you that? I didn't say open this door and I want you to get rid of all this. Just shut up and listen to me. I'm like, okay, man.
And so the other guy that took you under his wing is outside.
He's in the living room.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So he's in the living room.
He's just teaching you the game.
He's just, I'm doing the introduction with him. And so that way, when I come back myself, he wouldn't be nervous.
Right.
And everything would be good. So, and ironically, I mean, he's not, but he actually had the last name Gotti. And the man lived like John Gotti.
Wow.
I mean, he really did. I mean, he had suits that I couldn't even read the maker of it, and I mean, he had whatever he wanted, he had.
Right.
He had totes that was like slap full of money. And I'm every bill, 1, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100. I didn't see no $1,000 bills or nothing like that. But I mean, this man had at least $500,000
cash
in that one bedroom. I'm not talking about the other bedrooms in the house. I don't know what he had in there. This is in one bedroom. And I asked him, I was like, "Look, man, can I ask you something? Depending on what you want to ask." I said, "How do you get to this point?" And he's like, "Well, that kind of makes me nervous, you asking me that." And I'm like, "Look, man, I ain't no snitch or nothing like that." I said, "I'm just wondering how you're able to keep it on the down low.
Mm-hmm.
How are you not wanting to take this money and go on vacation? How do you do that?"
Right.
And he's like, "'Cause that ain't my concern. My concern is I've got everything that I need to protect myself and my family with and to keep us going."
Mm-hmm.
So we got food in our stomach and stuff like that. Man never did any kind of dope.
Oh,
period.
He's just a dealer.
He was just a dope dealer.
Wow.
So And I was like, well, okay, look, man, he's the one that sells the oxys for you. I don't want that because I'll end up ODing myself on it,
Mm-hmm.
having it in my pocket. He's like, well, okay, do you want to do like
So by
regular pain?
so now you had been on the oxys now by that
Yeah,
point.
I was on oxys then. Yeah, I
Now-
was full blown.
Was you eating them all, or did you ever snort them?
I ate them.
Yeah.
I never did. See, that's another thing. I never understood it neither. I never snorted pills. I mean, I did if somebody wanted to turn me on, I'd snort it or whatever. It didn't do nothing, clog my nose up. I never felt anything. Nothing.
But you ate them and you done a lot better.
When I see now oxy, it's got a coating on it.
Right.
You got to wipe the coating off. You don't wipe the coating off, then you're just only going to get so much at a time.
It's time release.
So I'd wipe the coating off and I would chew it.
Oh.
Literally chew it. I did regular pain pills like that. I did Percocet like that. I chewed them up. And that's basically the reason why I ain't got no teeth right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it ate the enamel off my teeth. My teeth it just ate my teeth up.
Wow.
Because I would chew them.
Yeah.
I love the taste of it.
Yeah.
And, growing up, when you take medicine, oh man, medicine sucks, man. It's not that.
Right.
That actually tasted like candy.
Right.
It was like a sweet kind of taste to it. And I fell in love with it. I mean, it was
So now you're hooked.
Now there's nothing I can do. I'm beyond even thinking about.
You're beyond what you believe to being helped.
Yes, I'm done. This is
my life. Your life, and this is the end of it.
The way I looked at it. I'm like, I'm either going to OD and die, or I'm going to get to prison for something I didn't do and get shanked or something. And it was on my mind every day. I'm going to die.
But either way, this life's going to kill you.
But it's going to kill me. Yes, I know this. This is not something that I think's going to happen or might happen. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that has the power to say when is the good Lord above.
Now, so how old were you around this time? And was that before or after or during? Because you got married.
Yeah.
Because like the audience don't know that yet. You married, you got 2 kids. How old was you when you got married?
20, 22, 23, 24.
That's what I was thinking.
It was somewhere around there.
You got 2 kids.
Yeah.
But
see, this was, I kind of passed that up.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason I stopped you.
Yeah.
So now this is after your divorce, right?
Yes.
Because you only married, what, 2 or 3 years?
If that, yeah.
We had 2 kids. So it's probably 2 years at least.
Yeah.
All right. So now you've got, because this is important. Because now you've got a marriage and divorce under your belt, plus you got 2 kids.
Right.
And you're up here slinging dope.
Right.
Now go.
I turned away from my kids because I didn't want them to know who I was, to know what I did, or to even have the slightest interest to go into that. It's not an excuse.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what I made the decision to stay away from my kids, not because I didn't want the responsibility of it, because I know how much misery and hell that I put myself through, coming up in that and going through that. I don't ever want anybody to go through that.
So let me take a minute and say this too. It's not an excuse.
No. Exactly.
It's not nothing that we're standing up for or approve of.
Right.
But that does not discount the fact that it's still in your mind, because this is what I want to make sure that people see through all this.
Yeah.
Is that once these hooks, these claws are in you.
Yes.
It's not an excuse.
No.
To stay away from your kids from not being it. But in your mind, it was for the best interest of the kids.
Yes.
They were your kids. You wasn't thinking about them needing a daddy.
No.
You was thinking about them not needing this life.
Right.
And that is a valid thought. And I think that's something that gets discounted too much, is that just because it's not the intention, it's still the way that it's felt.
Yes.
And you believed it to be true.
Yes.
So now you got some kids that you're keeping at bay because you loved them. but you didn't want you loved them so much that you didn't want them to be in this mess.
Yes.
And so, because that's going to be important for the end towards the end of the story. And so now that's done. You're in Michigan. You're learning all this stuff. You realize you're in it too deep. You're getting scared. Your expectation now of life is that I'm going to die. This life's going to kill me.
Right. But it's something that I chose and I wanted.
Right. But and accepted the fact.
I accepted the fact
that this is how I'm going to die.
Yes, this is how my.
So then, because what we're the whole point of this, the reason I want this story about there is because of the mindset. Follow the mindset.
Yes,
that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
So you had accepted the fact.
Yes.
That you're going to die in this life.
Right.
And in that acceptance of that, you figured if I'm going to die in it, I might as well enjoy it while I'm at it.
Go all out.
I'll watch my back. I'll try to live.
Right. But
I'm gonna live till I die. And so now, how many trips? That ain't important. Several trips to Michigan.
We're talking about, I can't tell you how many.
A lot.
I can just say that over a 3-year period, it was every week, every 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was.
Now, did you ever have to go by yourself?
Yes, I did.
A few times?
A couple of times, yeah.
First time, what was it like?
Oh man, I was soaked with sweat, dude. I mean, I was looking over my shoulder, looking down, making sure there wasn't no law behind me and stuff like that. Now on the way down wasn't that bad because I have nothing on me but money.
Yeah.
But now after I picked it up and was on my way back, oh, I'm talking about looked like driving Miss Daisy. I mean, just I was doing 10 and 2.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a driver's license.
Oh wow.
I didn't. And my dude knew that, but he was like, do the speed limit. Don't get tripped out. Just know that just roll with it, man. Just act like you belong there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't start tripping. Don't start looking around and stuff like that. And I was like, I won't. And I did.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, I was
early 20s.
No, this was after I was divorced. This was
middle late 20s.
I was probably late 20s.
So now we're winding down to where you're finding yourself. Right. So this is important. Tell me about the grip that was on you. You determine what point that you want to try to explain chasing the dragon, and tell me. I want to know your lowest point, and I know you had multiple points that were extremely low. I want to hear about your lowest points, and then leading up to ultimately how your life turned around.
Well, I'd done that for like 3 years, and I had money in my pocket. I had, I was high every day. It was what I was searching for.
Mm-hmm.
I'd finally got there.
Right.
But something started changing. It just, it was such a routine that I got sick and tired of doing the routine. I don't feel like driving all the way, because we're talking like 9.5, 10-hour drive. The score is worth the drive
right
in the beginning. Just suffer through it and you'll be all right. Because most of the time on the way down, I wasn't high.
Right.
Because I never had nothing to get high on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was sick driving. But it got to the point where it's not what I thought it would be.
Right.
I was like, this is not, I've got everything I need, everything I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Let me reflect, rephrase that. Yeah. It was everything that I wanted or I thought I wanted.
Right.
And I was like, where's the fun? Where's the enjoyment anymore? Because it wasn't enjoyment anymore. It's like, man, I got a strict schedule. I got to do this. I got to take this over here. I got to take this over here. I got to collect this from this. Okay, what if somebody robs me in between that and I can't give the dude the money?
Right.
Because he told me, he said, I like you. You're funny. You're crazy. But
don't
ever mess with my way of life. Because I don't care one bit to kill you and throw you in Michigan Lake and leave you. And I seen the look in his eyes. He meant every word of it.
Yeah.
He said, that ain't personal, man. This is how I live my life. This is how I support my family, you know. So make sure that you do it right.
Right.
And it don't matter how well you think you can do it right. Something's gonna mess up eventually. Something's gonna go wrong. Whether it's you get busted by the law,
Mm-hmm.
you get robbed by a bunch of crackheads or whatever, or you just simply
Anything.
being foolish.
Yeah.
You know, pulling into a gas station, leaving your car running there to use the bathroom, come back out and your car's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Your car's gone, your money's gone, the dope's gone, and now you're broke, and now you owe so and so amount of money.
Yeah.
It's not like they're gonna be, oh man, I'm sorry you got robbed, dude. I'm sorry they put a gun to you, or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I don't care what your excuse is, where's my money?
Because too many others lied to them.
Where's my money? I don't care what happened. Where's my money?
Mm-hmm.
No excuses. So the last trip I took, I told him, which he was getting a lot of heat on him down there at that time, because he just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I told him, I was like, look, man, you're getting ahead of yourself here, man. You're getting too much over your head here. I said, look, man. Oh no, man, there ain't, to these people, there's no amount of money that's enough.
Right.
He could have retired at any given time and been fine.
Never
had
enough.
nobody on him, after him, anything like that, and could have lived like a king the rest of his life. But it's not how they're bred.
Right.
It's all about the action. It's all about the thrill. It's all about the being in the moment at that moment. The power too. Yeah, they love that. But the last trip, man, I said, look, I want out. And he was like, okay. And it flipped me out. I was like, are you kidding me? Because usually that don't work like that.
Right.
You know? Usually if you start making them money and you start bringing them a certain amount of money, and then you say, look, I don't want to do it no more. Oh, come on, man. Or get mad at you. You're going to do it. Or, okay, man, no problem. I was like, really? He's like, really, man? This ain't no life for you anyways.
He told you that?
He told me that.
Wow.
He said, this ain't you, man. He said, you've got a heart.
So the thing that got you, the thing that got you started of not thinking you were a good enough human, pretty much.
Yeah.
This guy now is telling you what you never knew, never believed about yourself anyways.
Right.
Dude, this ain't your life.
Yeah.
How did you wind up here? Because your heart's too big.
Right.
You are what they've always told you that you are, and why you don't believe it and what got you down this path, we'll never know. But I'm telling you right now, this ain't the life for you anyway. So
yeah.
Did he kind of seem a little relieved when you said you wanted out?
He kind of
not relieved money wise, but relieved for you.
No, he was more like, I was waiting for that.
Okay.
He said, I know. He said, and that's why I said, you got a heart, you care about people. And in this game, you can't.
Right.
Because it will chew you up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I was wondering when you was going to do that. But he said, hey, it's all good, man. Go on back to it, man. Good luck doing whatever you're doing. And I was like, man, I don't know about the other guy. You can talk to him about him, but I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, good, man.
Now, what'd he say? You
What,
told
the
him
other
it
guy?
was done, yeah.
Oh, he cried, hugged me, and said, thank God, man. Thank God.
See, ain't that something?
See, this guy actually cared for me.
I know.
As a human being.
Right.
I mean, he really did. The second guy, not the guy in Michigan.
Right.
The one down here.
Right. One took you under his wing.
Right. He was like, man, I couldn't be more proud of you for saying that. I never wanted you in this game. I didn't want you in none of this because you're not that type of person. You're not bred for this. And I was like, man, I ain't no punk. He said, I never said that. But people, the way they're raised, the way they're bred, indicates who they are.
Right.
And he said, I know your family, and I know that they, you got a really good family, and I know that you was raised up in that, and I knew that this wasn't for you in the beginning, but you was hard headed as it comes. I knew you was going to do it anyway, so I wanted you
protect you
with me. So I, try to keep you from going way overboard.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is not the life you're supposed to be living.
no, he's like, this ain't you.
All right. So now you quit him. Then what happened?
I was still on dope, and I still bought it off of him,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't, you know, that sucked. I mean, financially,
Oh, I'd say.
that really sucked. But I got to the point where the law had started cracking down on them. They were getting harder and harder to get, and
The pills.
the oxys, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the only ones I got to the point where that's what I wanted. I didn't want Lorcet, I didn't want Percocet, and I'm like, I want oxy. And when they started getting scarce, you can't find them, and the ones you do find, I'm talking $100 a pill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you sit and think about that, people that ain't on drugs and they don't know nothing about it, you go in there and you look in your cabinet, you pull out one little pill.
Mm-hmm.
Could you honestly believe if somebody would give you $150 just for that one pill?
Right.
Ain't no way. Why would somebody? It's the truth if I ain't ever said it. Because I done.
Yeah.
And to somebody that ain't got a job, you went from a $50 a day habit to about $200 or $300 a day habit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the moment that I was like, okay, I can't quit. I can't.
I got a problem.
I kept trying to move away from it, get away from it like that, and trying to just, I'll eventually just get away from it. No, don't work like that. Not for me, anyways. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it didn't work like that. He called me one Friday, it was Thursday evening or Friday morning, something like that. He's like, hey, man, I need you to come up here and watch my house. I'm going away for the weekend. I was like, okay, no problem. So when I got up there, he handed me, what he wanted sold. And I was like, you want me to stay here in your house and sell this for you? Yes. I don't want nobody stealing my crap, man. Okay. Yeah, I can do that for you, man. No problem. He hands me a 1911 45. He hands me a snub nose 38. And he hands me an SKS, fully loaded, 100-round banana clip on it. Loaded. He said, do not, I don't care who it is, do not let anybody in this house for 1 second. You walk outside to the car, you hand them whatever, you send them down the road. You don't never let anybody in this house. You are the only one. Okay, man, no problem. Well, a few of my friends I've known, grew up with, they were on them too. They would come up there and they would buy them. They would bust them up right there and do it with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, let's do it. Like, all right, man, do it. I had done so much that weekend that I literally, I mean, a lot of people, junkies, stuff like that, when you get to the point where you're literally a junkie, you get so high that you're nodding out.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never done that, ever. Well, when I came back home after that weekend, I was nodding out. 2 days I was nodding out.
Wow.
And I hadn't done anything. Done it that weekend, but I mean, that's how much I had my system.
Yeah.
I was scared to go to sleep because they always told me, and I'd learned that Oxycontin, the overdose of Oxycontin is that you quit breathing.
Right.
It attacks your respiratory system. So I was scared to death. I didn't want to go to sleep. So I stayed up for like 2 days or whatever. And that was rough doing, especially without having something to help you stay up.
Mm-hmm.
But I stayed up and I was like, okay, there ain't no way it's in my system anymore. It's got to be ran through my system. I haven't done anything and I've been up for 2 days. I'm good. I went to sleep, slept for about a day and a half. I woke up, same thing. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. And I thought I was getting to the point where I'm like, I'm going to walk away from this.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm just going to walk away. I couldn't stop. I could not stop. It was physically, mentally, emotionally, and any way you can think about it, you cannot stop. I can't stop. So that's when it started clicking in my head. I got a decision to make.
Yep.
Either am I just going to die off
Mm-hmm.
like I had planned before, or am I really going to try to make a change here? And in that moment, in my confusion and highness and all that, crap, I messed up. And now I'm looking at prison time. Like, okay, this ain't no misdemeanor charge. This is a felony.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got to deal with this. How am I going to deal with this? So, and when I go to jail, let me tell you something. When you walk through those doors and you hear that cling in the back, that's when reality hits you.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. What have I done?
Yeah.
And it's like all the confusion and all the addiction, all that, but it leaves you. It left me. I was like, I know why I'm here. I'm here because of me.
Yeah.
I done this to myself. And it wasn't, okay, how am I going to get out of this? How can I lie out of this? How can I,
Yeah.
It was, you're going to prison.
Yeah.
Prison is no joke. It's a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never in my entire life seen that kind of evil.
Yeah.
People that would literally stomp your brains out and sit down on your head and eat lunch and not think nothing about it. People that would gut you and decorate their cell with your guts and it wouldn't bother them. Because this is hell on earth. Flat out. So, and I mean, down here in the county jail, it wasn't that bad because I mean, I knew half the people that was in there anyways, and it wasn't prison.
Right.
It was confinement, but it wasn't prison. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't no easier. This actually, in the county jail, you do more hard time there than you do in prison.
Right.
Because in prison, you can get out on the yard, you can go take classes, you do that. And down here in the county jail, you ain't doing nothing but sitting for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I found out I was going, I remember a really good friend of mine, he stayed up with me that whole night. Because the next day, they told me the next day, you're going. We're shipping you down. I was like, okay. Mike stayed up with me all night long. Because he'd done been in prison. He knew what it was like. And he told me, he just sat down and he talked to me. So let me tell you something. The guards are not going to help you. The only person that can help you is you. Keep your nose clean. Do not get in no debt with anybody. You don't know nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You was asleep. Whatever excuse you got to give them to say, look, I don't know what you're talking about. That's what you give them. You're going to see things that's going to be you ain't never seen before.
TV stuff.
Yeah, no, that's worse than that. And you got to ignore it. Don't look at it. If you look, if you're walking down the sale aisle or whatever, and you look in there and there's somebody getting whatever, you don't do this. You look, you turn your head back to straight, and you keep going. It's like you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
But he said it's going to affect you. It's going to bother you. It's going to scare you. But just stick to yourself, man. Don't. He said it all depends on where they send you to, because different prisons have different ways of running. But it's mostly when you go to prison, you stick with your color.
Right.
Because if you're with another color, then you're usually the punk of the color. But but I was under the impression I had 7 years to do. So I, the 8, 9, 10 months or whatever I was there before I got sent down, I was preparing my mind to do that. I got to do this. Ain't no getting out of it. I'm not going to rat, and they ain't just going to let me out. So I got to go do this. So I got my mind frame right to do 7 years in prison. They send me to Hopkins County, which is like a regional jail, which is pretty much the same thing as Letcher County. But the only difference is these people have been through the system. So the whole time I think I got 7 years. I get down there and I'm like, look, man, this is just, I'm not a major, I'm not a violent offender. I should be on a yard. I got 7 years to do. I don't want to do it in doing the sale thing 23 hours a day.
Yeah.
I want to get out on the yard, man, go to class, do something, maybe try to better myself somehow. And I was wondering, man, I was like, why am I here? Why are they not sending me to like behind the fence? Well, I was down there about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. And the same guy that come and got us from Letcher County Jail and took us down there came to the window and said, Jason Hall. I said, what? Come up here and sign this. I was like, man, look, I got carpal tunnel of how many crap that I've signed, man. What is it? Just can't you take it off the other paper or something? I mean, literally, my hand was cramped so bad because, I mean, you got to sign a lot of stuff, man. He was like, look, if you don't want to go home, that's fine. He shut the door. And that clicked, and I was like, whoa.
My carpal tunnel just got healed.
I'd bang on the door. Come here. What are you doing? And he come back there, and I was like, he handed me his piece of paper, and it said home arrangement. And I was like, what, I make parole? I didn't even know I went up for parole. What's this? What is this? And he was like, that's your living arrangement. You got to fill this out and give it back to me. And I said, okay, you said if I didn't want to go home, elaborate on that. When can I go home? He said, Mr. Hall, in all honesty, you're 10 days past due to get out. You served out. I said, how in the world did I serve out when I got 7 years? He said, who in the world told you you had 7 years?
Wow.
The judge told me I had 7 years.
I thought so.
And he was like, well, that judge apparently didn't do the paperwork right.
Wow.
And I was like, you telling me that I'm 10 days past due to get out? Yeah. I said, open the door. Well, we can't do it. I said, the heck you can't. How can you hold me here if I'm already 10 days past due to get out? And he's like, it don't work like that. We got to send this paperwork to Frankfurt. Frankfurt's got to classify you as whatever, and then sign the release forms and send it back. I said, why, man, just tell me, when am I getting out? He said, well, you'll get out probably Friday. I said, and you come to tell me Monday that I'm getting out on Friday. Longest week of my life, man. I hated it. But during that week was one of the most scary ever when I was locked up. That last week. There was a guy that slept underneath me that had literally his back was tattooed. His whole back in one tattoo. And it was Jesus Christ in an electric chair getting juiced. I was like, I'm in here with a Satanist now.
Oh my goodness.
Boy, was I wrong. That man knew the Bible in and out. He was a full-blown Christian. And I was like, and I asked him, I was like, what exactly?
He replaced the cross with the electric chair.
He said,
we can understand the electric chair because it's in today's time when crucifixion don't happen anymore, and it's hard. It's a story there, but it's reality to see him in a electric chair.
That's why he got it tattooed like that.
Wow.
He sure did. He said, let me tell you something. He's real. And he done that.
Okay. So now let me propose something, whether you see if you've thought of this or not. If there's anybody, I know a lot of folks say, well, Travis, if I need prayer, I'm gonna call Travis, whatever. But I believe that probably the most praying individual would be Mom.
Yeah.
And no doubt she was praying for you not to get killed in prison.
Absolutely.
So could it be, have you thought of this?
Oh, yeah.
That the Lord changed the judge's writing? Whether the judge mistakenly done something or whatever, that was by the hand of the Lord.
Yes.
And then you had to serve out and stay a little extra time for that extra week just so you could meet this guy.
Yeah.
And then you can, because, okay, so now, where was your mind at? I'm going to go back to that week, but where was your mind at with talking to this dude and getting out? And now you know you're getting out. at first it was 7 years. You're petrified.
Right.
I want to come out worse than I am. Did you at that point say, if I can get out of here, I'll do whatever I got to do to straighten up?
At that moment, I was like, man, I got to start.
I got to
It
find
was actually
something.
before I actually went down there. I started this thinking.
Okay.
I was like, man, I'm done with this. I'm fed up with it. I'm too old for this crap. It's pointless. There's no reason. There's nothing on this earth actually worth 5 minutes in that place, let alone how much time I actually did in that place. I got to do something. It wasn't that, I'm going to quit. I'm going to do this. I didn't have that mind frame at that time, but my mind frame was, I got to figure something out here. I got to figure another way. And it's not something that I think I need to do. It's something I have to do.
Right.
Because I don't want this. I'm done with this. I'm sick of this. It's just the same routine over and over again. And you only get so many chances before your breath gets took from you.
Right.
And then it's over. Then you cannot change.
Right.
So I was like, but when I met this character, he was, my first thoughts was he was a Satanist. And he's like, you thought I was like a Satan worshiper, didn't you? I was like, yeah, I did. No. And he got life. He wasn't going nowhere. He's going on down the road. I mean, he'd only been there for like a week or something like that, and he's waiting to be transferred to.
So he got there after you should have served out.
Well, no, I think
you was 10 days, and he got there a week before that.
Something like that, yeah, somewhere around there. He was in the cell when I went in.
Yeah,
because I jumped over. My bed was over top of his. And he realized what he had done, and he made himself ready to live the rest of his life in prison. But he also realized what Jesus had done and what God had done.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, even though I got life, I'm still serving him.
Yeah.
And I'm still thankful every day. I give it to him.
Yeah.
I give it to him. I give it to him. I give it to him.
And he's got life.
And he's going for life. So, but the bad part was the next cell over. It was pretty much the same way. You got one pod you walk into, and then it separates, and you got one cell here and one cell here. They call it a vestibule, and it's like the main door, and then you spread off to your your cells or whatever. Yeah. There was a guy over in the other cell that apparently had either raped or killed a guy that I was in the cell with, his niece, or it wasn't his daughter, but it was somebody like that close to him. He never said anything.
So they put the murderer in the cell with the family member of the one he murdered?
No, that was next door.
Okay. So the one that murdered was here, and the other one was in. So they're two. Cell. Okay.
The guy who was his family had been done like that was in my cell, and the guy who actually done the killing was in the next cell over.
Oh my!
And he never spoke much. Couldn't even tell he was even mad about anything. He just looked like somebody had messed up one weekend or something, got a DUI or something. He's got to pull some time. Stayed on his bunk most of the time, and I didn't realize it until after it happened what he was actually doing, which was actually diabolical.
Yeah,
really. The way they serve chow, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's all the same.
Yeah.
What they do is they open the main door, they push the trays in, they pop his door and they pop his door. One guy comes out this side and gets his tray and go back in there.
Okay.
And so on and so on.
So they don't pop the cells at the same time.
They do, but the trays are in between the cells.
Okay.
This side of the trays are for that cell. This side of the trays are for our cell. Okay. And you line up in the cell,
How many in a cell?
Well, we had 10
Okay.
in my cell. I don't know how many was in the other cell. But he was like 2 guys behind me. And I was standing there and I don't know what it was, man, but something just made me thinking about him a lot because most of the time he had his head down. He wasn't saying nothing. This time he was
Oh, okay.
like,
Game on.
he was zoned in,
Yeah.
you know, and that kind of concerned me because he was behind me for one thing.
Mm.
I'm like, I don't know if he's want to hurt me, this guy in front of me, this guy behind me. What's going on? Because he
Yeah.
never spoke to anybody about anything. Well, that day was visiting day, and they allow you to have clippers, head clippers in there to, do your
Trim up and
beard,
stuff so you can see the
right?
visitor.
To see your love, Well, I didn't think nothing about it. And I don't think anybody else in the cell thought anything about it. But the whole time, he was in the same line as this other guy. So when this guy come out, he was going to come out at the same time. He set it up that way. He got
Yeah.
in line like that. I didn't know it. Nobody knew it. And it's crazy how we didn't know it. But he had that clippers in his hand. He had the cord wrapped up in his hand, but he had it hanging about this far. And he had it right behind his right leg, like that right there. Because I was looking up here. I wasn't looking down here.
Right.
Because I was looking like, what's on this guy's mind?
Yeah.
But I go in or I go out, I grab my tray, I come back and I'm sitting there. And when I walk by him, that's when I notice the clippers in his hand. And I'm like, I had no clue.
Yeah.
I seriously, at that moment, I still had no clue what he was planning on doing or what he was even doing.
Yeah.
I thought the dude was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that guy come out and got his tray. And as soon as he come out of his cell, that other guy took off running. He grabbed the trays and pushed the guard and everybody out the door. Slammed the door shut. That's just him and that dude that done it to him. He hit him over the side of the head like,
Yeah.
and I seen his head gap open. Dude hit the ground. Dude was jumping off both feet on his head.
Golly.
I'm sitting here watching this. Blood squirting everywhere. It looked like something out of a Freddy Krueger or Jason movie.
It killed him?
I don't know if it did or not. I'd say it did.
Wow.
It wore him out bad. They took him out in a stretcher. Just put it that way, pumping his heart. So, but when I seen that, I mean, I seen this right in front of me.
Yeah.
This ain't on TV. This ain't on YouTube. This ain't,
Yeah.
I'm seeing this. I can reach out and touch these people.
Right.
Blood squirt. I ain't never seen nothing like that in my life, man. And it absolutely freaked me out.
I'd say.
Dude come back in the cell, shut the door, sat back down in his bunk. Never said another word. He was covered in blood.
His mind was already gone by the event of his family member being killed. And
he had a mission to do, and he accomplished it. Then he went straight like catatonic.
Wow.
It was everybody else in the cell was like over here, and he was over here on his bunk by himself, and everybody like,
I'd say so.
Because I mean, we didn't know this guy. I didn't know this guy, and nobody in there acted like they knew the guy or whatever. I don't know if anybody knew him or not. They never said he did, but everybody acted like, who is this guy? But I mean, and when I seen that, it's kind of like you watch the JFK assassination.
Not up close, no.
Watch it. The second shot, when it hits his skull, it peels it.
Yeah.
I seen it in front of me.
And then you had how many more days to get out?
2.
How well did you sleep that night?
I didn't even get on my bunk. I didn't. I mean, I stayed on the card table. We just sit there and play cards.
For 2 days. What did they do? They had to come and get him?
Oh yeah, they took him out.
And so now you got 2 days, and now you've seen.
Now I've seen that.
Now you've seen everything.
That right there helped. Like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Something's got to give, and I'm done.
Because you see what people are capable of.
I seen the actual hell of the environment that I put myself in.
Right.
The true.
And
Mind frame.
it was at that time that you realized it was you. I
Man,
mean,
that's sad.
you knew that you knew that where you were was your own choosing.
Yes,
You,
I knew
you
I put
accepted
myself
the fact,
there,
and you knew that you was the only one going to get yourself out of
I
it.
said, I can't do this no more. I cannot do this no more. And that's when I was like, God, please help me. And at that moment, God seen inside my heart or whatever, seen the desire of it and seen that I was serious. And he led me out of it.
But he was already leading you out before you even called out.
Oh yeah.
That's a story in and of
Absolutely.
itself.
Yeah.
All right. So now you get out of there. Now I didn't go down there to pick you up from there.
No, I rode the bus, which I'll never do again.
Well, I thought you may have rode the bus, but you rode the bus because you didn't want to wait on us to get down there, right?
You couldn't have made it there. There wasn't no way you could find a place.
Well, it wasn't that. We couldn't get there in enough time by the time they was releasing you or something, wasn't it? I can't remember.
No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. If I'd have
I couldn't find anywhere. There's no place I can't find.
If I would have told them, look, I got somebody to come and get me, then I would have had to stay inside the jail until you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you just like, hey, I'm just gonna hop a bus and I'm gonna get on.
Well,
and the bus brought you where? Lexington?
London.
Brought you to London.
Yeah.
Who picked you up?
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad picked you up.
5 o'clock. I left.
I remember.
10 o'clock that morning.
Yeah.
And when I got on the bus, we went over to Tennessee state line. I said, man, I've done jumped on the wrong bus. Because I didn't know
Macaulay Culkin saying he was home alone.
I was like, oh, dear Lord, this is not good. Come on, man. I just got out of jail. Give me some kind of peace. I want to go that way. And we went this way. But we went to Knoxville. Had a 4-hour layover at Knoxville.
Didn't have to come Knoxville all the way back over to 75 back up to London.
After we stopped at Nashville, 2-hour layover in Nashville. I left at 10 o'clock that morning. I didn't make it to London, Kentucky, until 5 o'clock the next morning.
The next morning?
The next morning.
Wow. So let me ask you this. And I know all this stuff's going through your mind, and it's like, man, this bus ride sucks, but it's so much better than prison, and all this stuff's playing through your head of the stuff that you've seen, and you're thanking the Lord for letting you out when you thought you was going to do, and all these emotions and ideas and thoughts and stuff's going through your head. But then you show up at London, and we all know how Mom is.
Oh, yeah.
So you see Mom. No doubt she's crying.
No, actually, she wasn't.
She wasn't.
She wasn't crying, but she grabbed a hold of me like she had, hadn't seen me in years.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What did that, well, okay, I won't say it that way. Was that embrace of her grabbing you and squeezing you like that, was that embrace more than, did that embrace feel different? Let me say it that way. No, it was just Mom.
It was Mom.
Okay.
Actually, at that moment, when I actually got in the car and we started coming home, it honestly felt like the end of a movie.
Yeah.
So to speak.
I got you.
And, but then I'm like, okay, what do I got to do here?
Now it's time for the sequel.
Okay. Now it's time to figure out how I'm going to,
how old was you? 27?
I was older than that.
No, you was older than that. How long you been clean?
17 years.
Yeah.
It was in 2006.
2006. Okay. So you was 29.
29-year-old, yeah.
And so 29, you said, I'm done.
Yeah.
2006.
2006, yeah.
Wait a minute now. That's okay.
Now, see, I got charged in 2008 for something I didn't do.
And what did you do? Was you clean when you come back from prison?
Oh, yeah.
Did you stay clean?
No.
No. Okay.
Not the whole time, no.
All right.
No.
So then what happened?
I come home and I was like, okay, I'm done with the breaking the law, period. I'm not even going to steal a piece of gum. I'm not going to jaywalk.
Yeah.
I'm done with that. But I relapsed 2 or 3 times, but relapse is a part of recovery. It's just, you know, not making that an excuse for anybody
Right. But
because some people can go without relapsing, some people can't.
but don't let the relapse drag you back in.
No,
it
no.
happens, and people still overcome.
It slips, you know.
Yeah.
You slip every now and then. I mean, this is something that, I mean, you didn't develop this in 1 year.
Yeah, you didn't wake up and say, "This is what I want to be."
Right. You know, this took years to get you to this point. It's going
Right.
to take years for you to get fully out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a battle. But I still had the same kind of self-doubt, self-hate,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But I'd really got to the point where, like, I don't care what you think of me.
Right.
I gotta, you know, I need to start caring about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I need to start loving myself. I need to accept who I am to
Right.
myself,
Right.
you know, and not look at it in a negative way, and not look at it, you know, just, hey, it's life, you know.
Yeah.
Not everybody, nobody's perfect. Nobody ever be perfect. You know, you find out who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
You accept who you really are, and then you apply. Like, well, this is me. You
Yeah.
know, either you're going to like me or you're not going to like me.
Right.
I don't care anymore like I used to.
Right.
You know, but I mean, don't get me wrong. When people hate me, it bothers me.
Yeah.
But not to where I'm going to self-hate and self.
Yeah. Not that you're going to buy into what their thoughts.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to let that deter me from who I am and what I'm trying to achieve now.
Right.
Because now, more than anything, I want to help anybody
Right.
that is in that.
Now there's, I know we got to get closer to wrapping this thing up, but
Yeah.
I want, you had told me, and we've skipped this somewhere because you're at the point of recovery now. I want to know what it was that made you realize that the only way you can do anything, you had to have the Lord in your life, and your commitment to Him. I want to hear that in those as your, unless there's something else that you may have forgot or something. But
No. The thing was one too many times of looking in the mirrors.
yeah,
And it was after the time that I realized, or I thought, you know, at the time, that I'm not going to get no better.
yeah,
You know, I'm better off dead
yeah,
than to have somebody have to sit there and keep worrying about me and worrying about this and worrying about that. I was just to the point where I was miserable.
which is worse because the family
Yeah.
would be so miserable.
Well, yeah,
It would hurt them more
yeah, it would.
knowing that that you took your own life.
Right.
So
I mean, I held a gun to my head.
you thought about it several times, or
Yeah.
a few times.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah,
And the time I put it to my head, I was going to do it. And then I don't know what it was. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it.
right.
I stuck it to
Was
my
that
head.
after? Was that after prison or before prison?
That's before prison.
Yeah. Okay.
This was because
That's while you were spiraling into the low that was.
Yeah, I was, you know, in what I thought I wanted.
Right. And then
But
realized it wasn't what I was cracked up to be.
Nothing like it. I thought it was going to be.
So
The
let me,
enjoyment,
right.
love of it, or whatever.
So let me ask you this then. Because right now, ultimately, I've been trying to get you down here to do this podcast and living a quarter mile away from me
Yeah,
for a long while so that we could talk about this and be able to help some people. So
I hope it does.
first thing, what would you say to, if there was any addict, but speaking to you,
Yeah,
right? Anybody that you can relate with from the moment that you first made the first drug that you tried, the first bad decision you made, whatever, all the way up to prison. If you could, like, if there was somebody in front of you right now, I know you can't say the same thing to all of them but if somebody's just starting and they get to that point, they think they messed up, and there's what kind of hope would you give them to know that there's people that want to see them better?
well, what I would tell them is, look, man, you can quit.
Yeah.
you can walk away from this.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. But if you want it bad enough, you can get away with this. Get away from this.
How do they want it bad enough?
You just got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, man.
Yeah.
The same routine.
So what you would say then, if there was some addicts that's like, it ain't no big deal, I'm not hurting nobody, ain't nothing going on. What you would tell them is that's what you see now. And I know you're not going to listen to me because nobody listened to me, because I didn't listen to anybody else. But I'm telling you, it's going to get a lot worse. And what it's going to do for your life, if you knew, if I could tell you, you would turn back now.
I would look at them and I'd say, this is the exact words I would say. I'd say, everything you think it's going to be,
it ain't.
Right. It's your worst nightmare.
Yeah. And it just keeps getting worse that you can't wake up from.
You're not going to like it, man. And if you push too hard and push too far, look, tomorrow's not promised.
We would say this. Me and you would say this. And it's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
Me and you would say this. If there's anybody listening, anybody that is trying to,
that feels hopeless,
whatever's going on, that me and you can honestly say this, that if nobody else loves them, we do.
Absolutely.
And we want to see better.
Yes. I love them because I know what they're feeling inside. Yeah. I know what they think of themselves. I know what they're looking for.
Now let me ask you this, because it goes hand in hand. And then if you got anything else to add after that, but what role in all of this, and at what point mentally would you say that God played in the? I mean, I know He was in it all, right? Yeah, and we know that everything that He can use everything that we've done for His glory, right?
Absolutely,
no matter how bad you get, no matter what. So I can preach on that all day, but I want to know from you, how did God play in all of this?
Allowing me to experience it.
There you go.
Allowing me to see the truth, the full truth.
And keeping a hedge around you during that time.
Absolutely.
So you would say that you hated the life, you hated everything that happened, you hated the man that you had become at times, but somewhere inside of you, you're going to thank God that you went through it anyways.
Yes.
Just so you'll be able to help somebody else.
Absolutely.
That's the heart that you got.
The heart I got is I feel like I went through that because that's my purpose on this earth now. I mean, that's why. Now you made the choice, right? That's not what God's destiny was for you, but because you walked in that, He is going to use that in a way to help others, to reach others, whatever the case will be. So with that being the case, let me ask you this. With everything, you're done with it. You walked away. You've been clean 17 years. But with what the Lord had done, even though you made the bad choices, He was still there in them choices. Oh, absolutely.
And He was, and when you saw, the big drug dealer up in Michigan, He saw something in you that He said, this life ain't for you. Right. And then the one that took you under His wing, that others would have never got by with what the stuff you got by with. Mm-hmm. And then He saw something in you too. And so you could say this, that even in the drug dealer, the big one, even in the one that took you under His wing, that God was using them still and showing them, whether they'll ever acknowledge it or not, showing them that that's not who you are.
Absolutely.
And then you can thank them as teachers. You can thank all of them as teachers. Because I know you got a lot of friends that some of them are still on drugs a lot. Some of them have tried to turn. I've talked to a few of them. They got great respect for you, and they've expressed respect for me as well. And your drive and your desire to see others not have to go through what you go through has been impactful to the point to where people see it.
Yes.
And so let me ask you this. Of course, it's the question that has to come up. Without God, where would you be?
hell.
That's about the answer.
Period.
Dead is what I thought you was going to say, but that's the thereafter. This is the first. You're the first guest.
Yeah.
On the podcast.
Okay.
I've never had any other guest on, and so, but the purpose of this, as the Warrior Call, as my buddy Justin Branham, came up with that name. War is your call.
Yeah.
Warrior Call.
Absolutely.
And so, that's what he was saying, and so I adopted that. I really like it. And so now, with your achievements and overcoming all this mess, you went from somebody who thought they were nobody, felt more so within themselves than anybody ever looked at them, took this horrible path and went this long journey for God to bring you to this moment of being a warrior.
I believe so, yes.
So as the first guest of the Warrior Call podcast, you are the first warrior that I've had on the show.
Well, first of all, I give it up to God. It's
Right.
all Him.
Right.
You know, He's the one that drove me. He's the one that showed me. He's the one that saved me. It all goes to Him.
Right.
The only thing I did was have the desire to change.
Yeah.
And anybody out there right now that's struggling through this, I know you feel alone. I know you feel abandoned.
Mm.
I know you feel hated. That's Satan.
Yeah.
Keeping you
That's it.
where you are. You're not hated, because I don't hate you. I might not even know you. I still don't hate you. I understand the toxic, whatever you want to call it, that's inside of you that wanted you to go, to run away, to hide, and not even want to be really around people, you know. God is there.
Yeah.
He's standing right beside you. He is right there.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't have far to reach out to get help. But unfortunately, you have to come up with that.
Yeah.
You have to make that decision.
Right.
You got to be the one to honestly say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick of this life. You can quit, but it's going to take everything in you.
God, I need a miracle.
And every ounce of self-worth, confidence, anything you have in yourself to push through that. But you can do it.
Yeah.
And once you do, after you get to where you're not waking up that morning thinking, okay, how am I going to get high? Once that leaves you, life opens up to the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, life is beautiful.
Yes. And worth the living.
But you got to know how to look at life.
Yeah.
You got to accept that life is not perfect. There's mean, evil things in this life. But there's also God in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you bring God into it and God brings you out of it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just, it's not something that I can explain to you in words.
It's beautiful.
It's something that you have to experience yourself. You can do it, but you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
You got to give up the ghost, man. You got to give it all up. You can't hang on to, I'm just going to do this. No. You can't. You got to give it every bit up. All the people you hung around with, you can't go back around them.
Right.
I'm not saying act like you're better than them or anything like that. All I'm saying is you cannot hang with them. Because
they have to make that decision.
I can go around anybody drinking or doing any kind of drugs, and it does not influence me to do it anymore.
Right.
It actually makes me sick to my stomach. Thank you, Lord. Because that is what gets you.
Yeah.
Is you wanting to feel what they're feeling at that moment.
that enjoyable escape that you had.
Yeah, wasn't an escape at
That
all.
when you see other people doing it now, you realize that it was not an escape, but a trap.
It breaks my heart because they're being led the wrong way.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you jump in front of there and try to stop them, but
I would. But
a lot of
unfortunately,
times
it's
they won't
something
listen.
they got to be the one to make the decision.
That's right.
You know, all I can tell you is that it is,
You can do it.
you can.
God can take it from you.
God can take it from you. You just got to be the one to make that decision.
Man, that's fantastic.
It's just, you have to be the one.
I'm glad you finally got down here.
Yeah, me too.
And we'll end it with that. I appreciate you. And we're going to wait and see what the next one has in store. We may have you back on here sometime. I don't know.
God bless y'all. Hang in there. Holler at me if you need me. I'm on Facebook. You need to talk about something. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you either way.
That's right.
I've been there. I've done that. You want to vent? Whatever. You want to talk to me? That's fine. Talk to me. I don't care. Holler at me. The important thing is find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, if it ain't me, find somebody that you trust or you know that has been through it, and just reach out, man.
Don't try to do it alone.
You know, people are reaching out. You know, even God Himself is right here doing this.
Yeah.
You know, but He's not going to pick your hand up, put it in His. You got to be the one to meet Him halfway. And I know you can do it. I love y'all. God bless you. I'm praying for you. You can do it.
Amen. All right. That's it, folks. We'll catch y'all on the next one.